Assalamu alaikum, I'm Bhika and you with us in the lab, empowering, inspiring and informing our viewers. Thank you so much for all the feedback, we really appreciate it. I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become. Things that happened in our past obviously can have an influence in our life, but it all depends on how we have reacted to these events. How we reacted depend on a few various factors like our state of mind, our beliefs and our positivity field. The better the state of our mind, the better we react and the easier we overcome. The good thing is that no matter what might have happened to us in the past and how we reacted, we have still the choice to become what we want. And we have that choice every day. Every day, even right now, you have the choice to change and become what you really want to. With us in studio today is Amore Sameera Jooste, mom of two, social media marketer and a UNISA student. Assalamu alaikum. Jazakallah so much for joining us today.
Walaikum salam. Nice being you.
Thank you so much. Sameera, how did your childhood experiences influence the work that you are currently doing right now?
I was sexually abused by a family member from the age of 10 to 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom also passed away when I was 20.
Okay.
And shortly after that, I had a miscarriage. And I was struggling to deal and cope with all the pain and emotions and feelings.
Mm-hmm.
My sister then invited me to go and visit an orphanage with her.
Okay.
And when I got to the orphanage and I started asking Mama Catherine, how did the kids end up here? She told me a lot of stories, and what touched me and broke my heart was the kids that got abused and raped and how they ended up there. So in a way I could relate to what they were going through.
Mm-hmm.
And also as a child how I felt that I didn't have a sense of belonging, I didn't have a purpose,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't feel loved, so all of that made me continue with my journey being a volunteer, and it just grew after the years.
Okay, so obviously your feelings were different while you were going through this as a young teenage girl, compared to now that you're dealing with kids that are going through this. How do you relate the two?
As a teenager and even in my 20s, I felt dirty. I felt that I didn't have respect for myself. I didn't have respect for my body.
Guilty, obviously.
I thought that, or I believed that what happened to me was my fault.
Mm-hmm.
And it kept on going through my childhood, my 20s, in my early 30s. I kept on believing that for a number of years. And it also made me depressed. And I tried a lot of things to do self-harm to myself because I didn't know how to deal with my emotions and hurt.
Okay, so you went through this, you said from 10 to 15 years old. Obviously, your feelings at that time were different compared to the feelings you're having now that you are helping kids that were in a similar situation. What was going through your mind when you were so little?
I didn't feel that I belonged anywhere. I didn't feel loved. I didn't feel wanted. I didn't have respect for my body. I didn't have respect for myself. And I didn't love myself. And in order for me to give love, whether it's to my family, whether it's to my children, people around me, I first need to love myself.
Absolutely.
And there were many times where I felt that it was my fault, but it wasn't my fault, and that I only realized this year after going for the therapy. And I think many kids and adults still feel, if something like this happened to them, that it was their fault. And you feel dirty. There were many times that I would stand in the shower and I'll scrub my body till it's red because I felt like I was dirty. So the emotions and feelings as a child and growing up, it doesn't really change. What I felt when I was a teenager and what I felt up until a few months ago, it was always the same. And I also felt that I didn't have a voice, that I couldn't speak out. So only now that I'm going for the therapy do I feel that I've got a voice and that I can speak out about it and that it wasn't my fault.
Okay, so most of the people that go through or endure what you went through don't obviously, like you say, speak out.
Yeah.
And they don't because, like you said, they feel guilty and it's their fault. When did your mother know about it, or who was the first person that you told about your experiences?
I was 12, 13 years old, and I did tell my mother what happened.
Okay.
And she didn't believe me. And that also, through my childhood and as an adult, hurt me that the person that's supposed to love and take care of me didn't believe me. And the person that I felt that I could share everything with didn't believe me.
Yes.
And even after my mom passed away, it was something in me that kept on staying with me, and I, in a way, felt angry at her because she didn't believe me. And I think that if children say something, that adults need to listen. They need to listen what kids are saying, and don't just think that, or in my case, I was told that I'm looking for attention and that is why I'm saying these things.
Okay.
That is not the case.
Yes.
So there's a saying that I think you also remember it as a child. Adults would say that children should be seen and not be heard.
Yes.
That needs to change and that needs to stop. We need to change it and say that if children are saying something, we must hear, we must listen, and we must do something about it. And not just make it off that they're looking for attention.
Well, that's a very important thing that Sameera has just, very important and pertinent point that she's just mentioned, that we should take children seriously, that what they are saying, and we should not just consider it attention and just to ease our lives as parents, evade the topic and just push it aside. You said you did tell your mom about this experience. After she avoided or evaded your experiences, did you bother to tell anybody else?
I didn't, because I felt that no one would believe me if I speak about it, and I just kept quiet about it.
Okay.
Some of my friends knew about it. I did tell them about it, but I basically pushed it aside because I always had it in my mind that no one will believe me.
You won't be believed.
And from there, I would allow people to say things to me and do things to me, and I would never stand up for myself.
Okay.
Because I have always been keeping quiet about everything. And last year, I realized, through the help of a very good friend, my partner as well, that I need to open up about it, and I need to talk about it, and that I need to deal with it. And that is when I then went to go and see a psychologist. And it was difficult in the beginning going to her. I did try a few years ago to go and see a psychologist, but it didn't work out for me at that time.
All right.
I think you need to be ready as well
Yes.
to speak to somebody. And if you are not emotionally and mentally ready for that, you are going to block out the good that's supposed to come out
Yes,
of
the
it.
help that they can afford you.
So when a person is ready for it, they should seek help, and it
Okay.
will definitely help them. But you have to open up yourself for that. And with the therapy, I started speaking about a lot of things that happened in my childhood, including the sexual abuse. And one of the other things that, like I said earlier, was the fact that my mom didn't believe me.
Yes.
So those were two things in my childhood that affected me as growing up. And I started dealing with that. And a few weeks ago, I went back to places that I grew up as a child and revisited
So
those places.
was
where
that part of the therapy and counseling?
it wasn't something that the psychologist suggested to me, but I felt the need to go and do it myself,
Okay.
to go back to those places and to let that fear go out of me.
Okay.
And when I visited those places, that's when I then realized that it wasn't my fault. I was a little girl that someone took advantage of.
Yes.
If some of the places were like in a bush, a building that's in a bush, why would you take a little girl to a building in a bush? What type of person are you? I don't even think you can call that a person, because
Yes.
you've done that on several occasions. And that then, that changed a lot of things for me,
Okay.
where that fear was gone, and I realized that what he did wasn't my fault.
Yes.
He did it. He needs to deal with that. He
Yes.
needs to live with that.
Okay.
He needs to answer for that one day. And there also the voice that I felt that I didn't have came back.
Okay.
And I'm not going to allow anybody to have that power over me where they feel that they can control me. It's not going to be like that anymore.
Okay, so you obviously went through this now, and is your approach to kids that are going through this different now? Is there signals that you can identify and say this child definitely needs help and we need to hear this child?
That's very difficult. With some children you can, and
Yes.
you can try and assist them and guide them and
Right.
help them to talk about it. But some children are not ready to talk about it.
Okay.
And children and adults need to be ready to talk about it. You cannot force them to talk about it.
Okay.
You can ask them that if something happened to you, you must say who it is, but if you can't talk about exactly what happened and how you are feeling, you cannot force them. You must wait for them to open
be
up,
ready.
to be ready for it.
Okay. Sameera, did you meet this person? Did you approach this person that did this to you, or are you letting sleeping dogs lie? Or
I still need to go and meet this person face to face again, and I've got a lot of questions. But it's 50-50. At other times, then I think that I shouldn't.
yes.
I shouldn't even bother. I shouldn't even give him that time. I
Yes.
shouldn't even waste my time
Yes.
going there and
Yes.
confronting him about it, because he's robbed me of my childhood.
Yes.
He's robbed me of my 20s. He's robbed me of my early 30s. So why should I give him any more time? So I still need to work through that and come to a conclusion, if I can put it that way.
Yes.
So that's why I said I'm 50-50.
Okay, your final words of advice to kids and young women or older women also that are going through this. What is your final words of advice to them?
It's not your fault that whatever happened to you or might still be happening to you, it is not your fault, and you shouldn't be growing up with that guilt and fear of whatever happened, whether it's rape, whether it's sexual abuse, emotional abuse, physical abuse, domestic violence. We all need to speak up about it and seek help. For kids, there's Childline that they can phone and report this. There's a Tear Foundation that they can also contact. If children don't feel comfortable telling a family member, there should be someone at the school as well that will listen to them and that can report this to the necessary authorities and also help the child get the necessary help or guidance. But again, I would say that it is not your fault. Don't grow up thinking that it's your fault. And I think in society that people or women feel that if they're going to say that they've been raped or that they've been sexually abused, that they will not be accepted, that they will not have a happy marriage, that they will not have a happy family. That is not true. Not true at all.
Wow, that is totally powerful and totally inspirational. I thank you so much for coming here today and sharing this with us. And I think you've made such a big difference in so many viewers' lives that's going to listen to this and take your advice. And I'm really in awe of you that you've become the person that you are, and our society needs more like you. Thank you so much for being on our program.
Thank you for having me.
Jazakallah. Well, that's it then. It's a wrap. I end today's episode with something really kind. Your past is just a story. And once you realize this, it has no power over you anymore. Catch us next week on Lodium Today for another great episode. Assalamu alaikum.
Watch our episodes on YouTube and subscribe to our profile. Also stay in touch on Facebook, WhatsApp and Instagram, and we'll keep you up to speed with topics coming up next week. Don't miss an episode.